From the halls of assembly, you'll hear us scream and shout. Our love of Indiana is manic and devout. Everything IU we discuss in unique manner. We won't be satisfied until we hang another banner. Us two goofy guys go by names of Ward and Eric. And as you probably know by now, we're Hoosier hysterics. Hoosier hysterics. Hoosier hysterics.
Hello, my fellow Big Ten champion football hysteric Ward Roberts.
Hello, my fellow number one team in the country fan, Eric Pankowski.
Do you notice the shirt that I am wearing?
Oh, I noticed the shirt. I'm envious of the shirt. I love the shirt. And as for those not watching at home, well, you have your Big Ten champion shirt on. I have one of those cute number one foam fingers that say Indiana Hoosiers on it. But as far as being a football fan and putting one of these in the air, this is the first time in 127 years of Indiana football, 90 years of the AP poll, first time in the history of the college football playoffs, seeding, we can say we're number one. We can raise this foam number one finger in the air, and it's factually correct.
I mean, I just can't wipe the smile off my face. We have so much to cover. Let's pay some bills. We are, as always,
powered by
CommunityCars.com, sponsor of the pod, Hoosier Hysterics. CommunityCars.com, Hoosier Legends talk with Ward and Eric. CommunityCars.com.
and fade out. CommunityCars.com. Of course, CommunityCars.com and Community Cars took care of me when I was in Indiana for this amazing weekend of a lifetime, which we will get into. And they will make your car buying experience a once-in-a-lifetime experience too, because it'll be easy, it'll be nice, you'll feel good, you won't feel like you got taken for a ride. Everything that you need that you want in a car buying experience, Community Cars will give it to you.
I love that. One pushback, I don't think is once in a lifetime opportunity.
Ooh.
I think if you keep going back to Community Cars for your spouse, for your parents, for your kids, for yourself, after 15 years of driving an amazing car where they help take care of you and it the entire time, it could be like a 8 times in a lifetime experience because you will be a part of the community of Community Cars.
No matter what your budget is, no matter how much you have or don't have, they're going to find a car that works for you. New, used, leasing options, financing options, trade-ins. They're going to take care of you. Great shop as well to make sure that if you have car needs as your car adventures continue over your lifetime, they're going to make sure the car's up and running, and they're not going to charge you an arm and a leg. They're going to give you a fair price for all of your car needs.
They have all of the colors, and also they specialize in those hydraulics that really get the car to bounce.
Yeah, you don't see those as much anymore.
You don't, but if you want to on your own car, Community Cars, I think at this point, to make sure it is not lost in the shuffle of everything we have to talk about up front, I just want to immediately give love to Pigs.com and all the dudes at Pigs who are giving us this incredible coverage on all the Hoosier sports, but obviously in the greatest run in IU football history. You got Matt, you got Jared, you got Rabbi, for the Louisville game, Trevor was there bringing the basketball analysis too. On a weekend like this, where IU sports is at the forefront of America, to have these guys in the trenches day in and day out, in the bad times and now in the good, I just feel very grateful that when I want to get the insight, the scoop, the access to these beloved programs of ours, that these guys are hooking us up day in and day out.
Could not agree more. All right. So an epic weekend. Let's set the stage. You are recently back from an epic trip to Japan with your whole family.
Correct.
You got back the week before this weekend,
Days
and it just did not make sense for you to then leave your family and go on this expensive trip across the country.
Yeah, it did not make financial sense.
Totally understood. I, however, don't go anywhere except for work trips and Indiana.
And
So
St.
I was
Louis.
able to make this at St. Louis. I was able to make this happen. And my daughter, Stella, who is a sophomore in high school, who for many years has been saying she's going to go to Indiana University, was all about it. She told me that she has watched, I found this out on the trip, and I got to say, I'm just going to say this off the top, and then I won't belabor the point probably until the end. You know how much I love going on these trips with you, and every one of them is special.
Yes.
And we have made memories of a lifetime doing what we have done together. Going with my daughter was a different trip, obviously.
I'm sure it was.
But I have 3 kids, and
Mhm.
Stella's the middle, and I haven't been able to spend too much one-on-one time with Stella over the course of her life.
Mhm.
You know, she's 15 years old. She does what girls do, and we're divorced, her mom and I, and so she's not with me all the time, which makes my chances of one-on-one time even less, because when you have the kids, it's harder to split them up, when you only get them for 3-4 days at a time.
Sure.
I might get emotional about it. It was so special to be
Mm-hmm.
there with her. The plane ride, the Uber rides, the being in the same hotel room, just us, the meals, just us. Um, it it just filled me with so much emotion. And I got to know my daughter on a different level. She's super funny, super funny.
She is.
She's super innocent still, thank God. Being a 15-year-old girl in LA, that's not easy. Being a 15-year-old girl anywhere is not easy. And we just had great conversations, and I got to really explain the game of football to her,
Yeah.
Um,
And that she wanted you to explain it to her.
yes, her appetite was voracious, like she wanted it. And it was just, as a dad, one of the greatest weekends of my life, bar none. Win or lose, truthfully, it would have been special. Winning made it better.
Oh, I mean, just the term, like, I can't even fathom if you'd gone 0 for 3 and what the Hysterics Nation, what the Hoosier Nation would have, I get it. They want to blame us for such things. I think they would have come after your daughter.
Yeah, I know. They definitely would have. By the way, some jackbags on Twitter did come after my daughter.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, but I can't say I'm surprised, but I'm very sorry that they did.
So we get in a car to get to the airport Friday morning, get on the plane. It could not have been smoother. The ride to LAX, the flight was on time, and we were nervous because we got into Bloomington or got into Indianapolis if we were on time at 4:00. Indiana's women's volleyball team was playing in the second round at Wilkinson Hall at 6:00. So we were cutting it somewhat close. Now,
sure.
I made my daughter just do a carry-on bag.
Great.
Which in the wintertime was even a more difficult conversation than it would have been.
But also with a personal item, right? So 2 bags?
She had a backpack, yes.
Yeah.
So convinced her to do that. The plane ride was great. We were surrounded by Indiana fans.
Hell yeah.
Some Ohio State fans as well, but surrounded by Indiana fans. And so she got her first kind of taste of it then, and it was great. Got a lot of hysterics love in the airport. Got hysterics love in the Indianapolis airport.
Oh, it was like in the LA airport?
Yes.
Okay, well, I guess there was a higher concentration of Indiana fans than normal.
Totally. We get there, community cars hooked us up, cars waiting for us. The highways that have been being worked on since we were in school are finished. And going from 465 to 69 all the way down to Bloomington shaved like 15 minutes off the trip. It takes like 45 to 50 minutes to get there now.
There's going to be an earthquake in like a week and just mess it all up for the next 15 years.
It was amazing. We go right to Wilkinson Hall, dart right into the arena, the gym, probably about 30 minutes before game time, started filling in, saw a lot of people, old faces that we recognized, introduced everyone to my daughter, and they all said the same thing. are you ready for this? And her answer was absolutely not. I have no idea what to expect.
Was
And
it was it close to capacity in there?
There were some corner seats that were not filled, but it was a good crowd.
Good.
And it was an electric crowd. It was loud from the beginning. Set one starts.
Now,
And
we should set the scene. They'd won the night before. So now this is the round of 32 with the Sweet 16 berth on the line.
yes, to play a number one seed because we're the 4 seed and probably Texas was going to win in our regional. So
Bring it.
game starts and we're not hitting on all cylinders. And it's going back and forth. They're up by like 3 or 4. I think they might have extended the lead to 5. I can't remember. We then call timeout. We make a little run. I saw Jeremy Gray after the first set, and he said to me that first set was like going from we were playing acoustic guitar at the beginning, and then we plugged it in, and we did, and we rolled. First set won 25-20. Second set won 25-17. Third set, we let our foot off the gas, and they were playing like a desperate team. And they were up, I believe, 21-16. And, you know, the rule in volleyball is like whoever gets to 20 first wins the vast majority of games. It's like the old rule in basketball, NBA, like whoever scores 100 first is going to win, right?
Yeah.
Steve Air was coaching, called a timeout at like 19-15, called another timeout at 21-16. And then we came out of that timeout and roared to victory. Roared. And every point, everybody was getting more excited. Oh my God, could this be it? Could this be it? And we win the game. We win it in straight sets. Unbelievable. Swept them and swept the first round game in the Sweet 16, and the celebration was just joyous. Everybody was high-fiving. We sat near a lot of the families. They were so happy and emotional. Everybody played well. It was just an electric atmosphere. We were fortunate enough after the game to sneak our way back to Steve Aird's office where there was a full-fledged party going on. And if you know Steve Aird, that means that there was a full-fledged party going on.
I mean, it probably started for him before he got to the office. It just ended up there.
Oh, for sure. He probably stashed it away in a little nook somewhere that he could take before getting to the office.
On the bench?
Yeah.
After the game.
No, he doesn't do it on the bench.
After the game.
After the game. It was just incredible. Scott Dolson was there. Jeremy Gray was there, ran into Galen Clavio. Everybody was ecstatic. Tom Wilkinson, who's been maybe the biggest supporter of IU women's volleyball, the building's named after the guy.
Yeah, it's a pretty good
indication. There. It was awesome. It was just so awesome. And I cannot say this enough. And you experienced this too when we went together and saw them beat USC. The sport of volleyball, women's volleyball in particular, is an exciting, appealing, awesome sport. It really is.
Yeah.
And the NCAA has done a shit job promoting it. Shit. As evidenced by the day before, Ward, we're hosting 2 games. Like we host the other game that played between Colorado and American, and the winner plays us. That game started at like, I don't remember what time, 3:30 or something. The scheduled start time for Indiana's game against the first round game, I can't remember now who we played, Toledo, was 5:30 p.m. Colorado wins in straight sets. Rather than just take the time and keep the game at the scheduled time, they just play it 30 minutes after that game ends. The game started at like 4:50. It started 40 minutes early on a Thursday night. You got people who are trying to get off work who are coming and picking up their kids and going to take them to the game. They can't all of a sudden be there 40 minutes early when you decide that half an hour before the start time.
You can't do that. You can't do that. That's absolutely unacceptable.
I was watching the Thursday night game on ESPN Plus, and they have it starting at 5:30. I couldn't even get the feed because it started too early. It's just a shit job of promoting a sport. And guess what? This sport can attract an audience. Nebraska got 90,000 people to show up to an outdoor game.
That's the thing, despite the incompetence at the NCAA level, which is a very common theme talking about the NCAA and their responsibilities, even what the Big Ten has been able to do with women's volleyball, and really elevate it to a place, as far as I know, no other conference has been able to do. And they've got the teams and the fan bases to support that. And it's just growing because the product is so good that the same way the Big Ten kind of was ahead and having the network to begin with for all the different sports, but particularly with women's volleyball, like when I go and see what YouTube TV is recommending to me based on my viewing, it's Big Ten basketball, football, and volleyball. It's like it's right there with it. And there's, a lot of games to be had through the season. So I think despite the NCAA, women's volleyball is inevitable.
It's awesome. And, there's so many things great about the sport. These women do not talk trash to each other. Now, part of it is because the net separates you. So it's not a contact sport. So unlike basketball, where you're on top of each other and you can get chippy, it doesn't get chippy. It gets heated. It gets intense. But these girls, even the thing, Ward, I'm sure you've noticed this on volleyball games, after every point, win or lose, it's high fives all around.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Every point.
Yep.
Girls on the bench are standing up. They've got dances choreographed, high fives, not just our team, most teams. It is a beautiful thing to watch. It is what college athletics should be about and youth athletics should be about. It was wonderful. We were cheering our heads off, celebrated with Steve Aird, hung out for a little bit, and then high-fiving everybody out. We had to go get a meal. We hadn't eaten yet. Where do we go? Little Zagreb's. Walk into Little Zagreb's. They're like, listen, we'll get you in, but it's going to be about a 40-minute wait. I'm like, no problem. Fine. Evan Martin comes over and meets us for dinner.
Nice.
We decide, well, when I say me, I'm like, hey, why don't we go to Social Cantina and get some nachos as an appetizer while we wait for the game? Or wait for the Zagreb's to take us. They're like, do you really want nachos before Zagreb's? I'm like, yes, of course I do. I'm in Bloomington. The diet's gone.
Off.
Diet's gone. So we're walking. Stella is freaking out because there's snow on the ground. She has never really experienced snow. So we're walking with Evan, and she picks up some snow and forms it into a snowball and pretends like she's going to throw it at me. And I kind of run down the street, and then I turn around, and she's with Evan. And as I turn around, a giant snowball hits me in my nose, eye, and whole face.
Great. I was going to be so disappointed when you said pretends. I was like, why is she pretending?
She crushed me.
Good.
She loved it. It was like the favorite thing she's ever done in her life was hit me square in the face from like 20 feet away. Went to Zagreb's. We got 2 shrimp cocktails. By the way, Stella doesn't eat shrimp.
Can she handle the sauce?
She doesn't eat it. She didn't eat it. So just 2 shrimp cocktails. Evan and I killed those.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's easy.
Evan got a filet. Stella got the burger. She wanted the burger. I told her the burger's great, and I told her she could have some of my steak. I got the porterhouse. It was unbelievable. It was just unbelievable. Lots of Hoosier just love. Place was still packed at 9:00 at night. It was awesome. Ate dinner there. And then I told Stella, Ward's not here. You got to walk the circuit with me.
Got to do the walk.
Lit up a cigar, walked around Kirkwood, walked to the sample gates, took pictures. Upstairs pub was rocking. Not many people on the streets.
Did you guys go up there?
We did not go to upstairs pub. We just did the circuit, smoked the cigar, went back to our car, and drove to Indianapolis. Checked into the hotel, no problems at all. Stayed at the Hyatt House, which is right across the street from, you could throw a snowball and hit Gainbridge.
Oh, perfect.
So that's awesome. Outside of Stella's window, she stayed on a pull-out couch in the little room. Outside her window, Pascal Siakam is just looking at her from this giant poster on the side.
Spicy P. You could do a lot worse than Spicy P.
Yeah, got to sleep around midnight, 1 a.m., woke up, went for a run, and my run was intense. I tweeted about it. I sent you the description of my run, Ward.
Yes.
I got in a silent battle with an Ohio State fan. I did. And just to recap what happened is, you know this because you've been on plenty of treadmills. You get on a treadmill. I don't like being right next to somebody at a gym. I don't like that. I want at least one treadmill in between.
I mean, that sounds like a guy who has a treadmill in his garage and doesn't have to get out into the general population like the rest of us at the YMCA.
Fair, fair. There were 6 treadmills. 4 of them were taken and 2 were open. I get onto my treadmill, and the second I get onto my treadmill, this guy next to me gets on the treadmill. He is wearing Ohio State gear head to toe. I'm wearing Indiana gear head to toe. He's even got he's got floppy hair, so he's wearing that stupid headband, everything about it was disgusting.
Yeah, he's a Buckeye. What do you expect?
Exactly. So I start my run, 1 minute walk. Then I pump it up to about a 6.2, 6.3. I'll get up to a 6.5 on a good day. That's where I tend to sit.
Yeah.
But I can feel this jackbag Buckeye looking at my screen. I can feel it.
Yeah.
Now, and
sorry, this is an important.
Yeah.
Is there any incline on either of your treadmills?
No. Okay. 0 incline.
Makes a dramatic difference. Okay.
Of course it does, which is why I don't do it.
Yeah, please continue.
And I could tell that he's looking at my screen, and in my head, he's looking, how fast is this Hoosier going? I'm going to beat him. And he picks up the speed. And I can tell he picks up the speed because his feet are hitting harder on the treadmill. And I'm like, I cannot let Hoosier Nation down. This is not about me anymore.
We're counting on you.
So I up mine. I'm at like a 6.7, 6.8. And I can see out of my peripheral vision, he's hitting the screen. He's going faster. I get up to we're up to a 7.2. That's not good for me. I can't do a 7.2.
How long have you been on at this point?
I get to 7.2 at about 17 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm like, and a normal run for me is 40 minutes. And then I'll walk, get to an hour, but 40-minute run, 20-minute walk. And now we are just mano a mano. It is rumble in the jungle. And I'm sweating like a pig. I'm sure some of my sweat is hitting him. I'm just out of control. And then we get to 30 minutes, 35,
Oof.
38, 40, 42 minutes. And I'm like, that's it. I'm going to die on this treadmill. I'm going to die, but I don't care because it's for Hoosier Nation. And here's what I was thinking, Ward. I'm either going to beat him, right?
Yeah.
He's going to give up, or I'm going to die. And if I die.
Or both, like John Henry, right? Beating the steam drill.
Yes. But at this point, the rest of the gym is cleared out. It's about 10 a.m. now, and the rest of the gym is cleared out. It's just us next to each other on these 2 treadmills. And I'm like, okay, well, here's the deal. It's a win-win for me. I'm either going to win or I'm going to die. And if I die, he's going to have to deal with it. And it's going to ruin his day. It's going to ruin his day having to call an ambulance and wait for me.
Well, I think you're giving him way too much credit. He's an Ohio State fan. He probably would have sauntered away, told somebody in the maintenance department that there was a body in there.
Okay, you're right. But in my head, I was like, he's going to have to deal with this. There's cameras up. He doesn't want to be in a legal situation that he wasn't a good Samaritan. Okay. Uh-huh. But at around 47 minutes, my ears start tingling. Not because of what I heard, but because of what I didn't hear. The pounding was less. He had slowed down. He started to walk. And I'm like, oh my God. But I didn't want to get faked out. I thought, what if he's just walking for a minute and then he's going to bolt the second I go down to walking? I can't do that. He stops. And I'm like, oh my God, he stops. And then I hear the door of the gym open and closed. This guy left. He didn't even clean off his machine.
Oh, yeah. A loser and disgusting.
I won. I won for us. I won for us.
It was a good omen. That's for sure.
And I thought, okay, this is great. Went back to my room, showered up, got Stella up. We headed over to a restaurant that everybody told me I have to go to for breakfast called Patachu. Cafe Patachu. Have you heard of this place?
No.
It's remarkable, Ward. It is an unbelievable breakfast spot known for their cinnamon toast. Amazing. Hoosier fans everywhere. Hoosier fans on the street. By then, it's almost basketball time. So we head over to Gamebridge. It was insane. Ward, it was exactly like Portland where they weren't letting people in.
Oh, weird.
It was awful. I'm like, they do this all the time. They have 20,000 people. They know how to do this. Why is this taking so long? We get in, great atmosphere. I would say it was about 70% Hoosier fans, 30% Louisville fans.
Okay.
And then I want to turn it over to you here because we're watching it from our vantage point. But when you watch on TV, you get to see a lot of different things. So walk me through your experience watching the first 4 or 5 minutes of that game.
It just didn't look like we belonged on the same floor. It was like, all our greatest fears about the talent or lack thereof on this roster, and of course something like, well, we didn't get Ryan Conwell, so instead we got Lamar Wilkerson, and just all that seemed like it was immediately super evident, like, okay, we're not at the Louisville level right now. And this is reminiscent of, let's say, Vegas against Arizona. We've seen this before where we played pretty well, even with Archie, beating a Marquette team and thinking like, okay, we could be kind of up there in the college basketball landscape this year. And so in that 16-0 run, it just felt like, oh no, we have a long way to go. And not that we can't get there, not overreacting, but thinking like, no, this team right now at this point is just simply not at the same level as where Louisville's at. Then for the rest of the game, and we can get that into that a little bit more, but while obviously that lead and that start allowed Louisville to be in control for the entire game, and it was never really in doubt, just the way we dug in and competed and scratched and clawed our way to, like I said, at halftime, a single digit win at this, or a single digit loss at this point would be a win so far as metrics go, and not just having our confidence shattered for the rest of the season would go. But it was a bummer that we basically didn't give ourselves a chance in this game. It was essentially over as it began.
Yeah, I totally agree. I will say this, coming after that 16-0 lead, to me, and I think a lot of people around us watching, it felt like Louisville just stopped being aggressive. It really did. It felt like we'll fuck around for a little, and then if they cut it, we'll hit a 3 and go back from 8 to 11, 11 to 14. And look, we did play hard. I will say this about the Indiana fan base. We are so desperate for anything good in basketball. We are so desperate to bury what's happened the last 9 years, but especially the last 4 years, that when there was anything to cheer for, when Connor Enright drew an offensive foul, when we forced them into a turnover, the place exploded. I don't know if that came through on TV, but it got loud. We wanted it so bad. We were willing this team as much as we could. It just felt like at virtually every position, we just aren't good enough. That's what it felt like.
Yep.
It felt like, how many times did we work the ball the way we normally work the ball and end up with a wide open shot? And this time we would work the ball and then there would be a guy guarding us and we couldn't get a shot off.
Yeah.
Or we would get the ball down low and couldn't finish.
Or when there was an open look, we wouldn't make it.
No, and Lamar Wilkerson is struggling. I mean,
Yeah.
he is just struggling.
Yeah.
And by the way, I also hate that they say Lamar Wilkerson is 6'6". He is not 6'6".
He's
He is
6'4".
at best, Ward.
Yeah.
At best.
Yeah.
And he's kind of slight, and he gets bumped. And when he's playing against tough guys like Conwell, and he's trying to make a move on Conwell, it's not happening. And there were two things that stood out to me as I watched the game that bothered me the most. Watching Conwell, who Woody refused to recruit. He refused to recruit him hard when he came open in the transfer portal from Indiana State and went to Xavier instead of going to Indiana, and the kid's from freaking Indianapolis. That bothered me. And it also bothered me that, like, Darren couldn't recruit him. He tried, he didn't make inroads. He wanted to go to Louisville instead, and we couldn't make inroads on a top guy that was in the transfer portal. That one bothered me. But you know the one that really bothered me more? You and I haven't talked about this. Isaac McNeely.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even realize he was on Louisville.
He hit 5 3-pointers in that game.
Yeah.
He scored 15 points, and he hit a lot of the big ones when they needed one. Isaac McNeely is the recruit that at the time I think was playing for West Virginia and was thinking about transferring, and Indiana had him on campus, and Ward and I were with Woody and his cabal of people smoking cigars, and we were told by Kenya Hunter, there's a dinner with Isaac McNeely tonight. And in our meeting or our hangout with Woody and smoking cigars, he was extolling the virtues of Isaac McNeely. He was like, yeah, we got this kid on campus. He's got wiggle.
He's got wiggle. Yeah. And there was something we should have picked up on, that when Kenya was asking you to make sure that Woody got to that dinner on time, we should have known then that there was a real problem.
And when it came time to let Woody know, and we've told this story before, but we'll remind people, we did. Hey, we know we got to get out of here. It was like 6:30, 6:45. We know you got that dinner. And he tells us, no, they got in late. The family's not going to make dinner. There's not going to happen. So we're going to order pizza. And we're like, oh, okay, we'll hang out and order pizza with the head coach of Indiana University and dignitaries from Indiana, if you will. And then a couple hours later, I'm texting Kenya and from the cigar lounge, and I said to Kenya, it sucks about the McNeely thing not happening. And his response is, what are you talking about? We're having dinner with him right now. Woody just lied because he didn't want to go to that dinner. He'd rather do nothing with idiots like us and his friends smoking cigars, playing, what was the guy's name? Pablo Escobar? Sebastian Escobar.
Oh yeah, the terrible music we were listening to.
Yeah.
And let's be clear, at this point, I think you and I were just kind of hanging out by ourselves, and he was playing cards with money.
Yeah. I mean, it was awful. So seeing Isaac McNeely, what seems like a lifetime later, light us up for 15 points really bothered me and made me mad about what Woody did to this program. So the second half, there was one point where we cut the lead to 8, and then Lamar Wilkerson had a 3 that would have cut it to 5. And the place was ready to explode, and he missed it. And by the end of the game, you look at the stats, and Ward, we can talk about every stat you want to. There is one that matters with this team. If they hit threes, they will compete. If they don't hit threes, they will not win games against good teams.
Live by the 3, but die by the 3. It's no surprise. And this is what this team has been built upon. And I do think we're going to get a couple probably fun victories this year that nobody expects, but it's especially when most of the guys aren't hitting the threes that you're depending on. Look, Dorn is exciting. With each passing game, Dorn is showing like he could be more and more of a threat out there. So if you have 3 legitimate guys instead of just 2, then maybe you have something there, but it's still going to be feast or famine.
I 100% agree. Dorn's got to play 20 minutes a game. He's got to be like, I would love to see him inserted in the starting lineup and see Enright come off the bench. I just think we need that other scoring option.
And to that, I would say, and it can be matchup dependent, but like put Sam in there to start instead of Reed. I don't think Reed he can't really finish that well around the rim. He doesn't have the strength to protect the rim. He doesn't have a good enough handle to really do a lot with the ball besides make some passes up top. I just think Sam gives you a lot more stuff you can rely on. So now if you're looking at a lineup that starts with Sam and Dorn, that feels like even physically more able to compete in the Big Ten.
I agree. Although what I saw with Sam would try to back down a real Louisville post and not be able to do it.
Right. But I think that's Louisville, and you're not going to see that level too often in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, I think we're in agreement there. Okay. That game ends and we're mad, but you could just feel that everybody in that arena was wiping it. And on the way out, people are like, all right, it's time for the main event. Let's go win the Big Ten championship. And even Stella was like, she's like, Dad, if we had to trade one of the 3 wins, I would have traded the Indiana basketball game for the other 2 to win. And
that's no knock on Indiana basketball. That's like an early non-conference game versus 2 of our teams that are in the postseason.
100%.
Yeah.
So we walk over to Shapiro's Deli to get a little meal. We meet our good friend John Schweisberger and his friend Sandy, who we've become friends with.
Nice.
And it's just me, Stella, and John and Sandy having Shapiro's meal. Lots of love in Shapiro's. A lot of pictures being taken. It was awesome. And everybody gearing up now, like replenishing with corned beef and matzo ball soup,
Yeah.
and ready to go. And then we walk over to Lucas Oil, and I had never been to Lucas Oil before. It is the coolest stadium I've ever been in. I loved it. I loved every moment of it. It looks amazing from the outside. You walk in and you're in this industrial, very cool, like, what's the concourse or whatever that's called around it. They do a really good job. No, the place was packed an hour and a half before the game, and all the concession stands were going fast. Like they have so many concession stands there, no lines at the bathrooms. Like everything was great. Everything.
Yeah.
We did a full lap around the stadium to really take it all in.
Well,
and
and to me, like the piece de resistance is the windows at each end. And obviously when you're there in December, they're not going to have the roof open.
Right.
That's a really cool experience too. But it, I think both functionally and aesthetically, there's a reason it's usually right at the very top of favorite stadiums in the NFL.
Before moment one, it was intense. It was filled with electricity. It was split 50-50 Ohio State and Indiana.
Really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. And we were in an Indiana section, and the Indiana section went from the Indiana end zone, wrapping around to the other end zone, and then the other end zone started with Ohio State fans and wrapped around to the Indiana end zone. And it was electric. They would put stuff on the screen that would show, like, Mendoza won Offensive Player of the Year for the Big Ten, and all the Indiana fans would go crazy. And then it would show Sayin won for Freshman of the Year, and all the Ohio State fans would go crazy. It was electric before it started. The bands playing, first the Indiana band, the Ohio State band comes out. The Ohio State band is impressive.
Well, I think that might be a number one team in the country, even if their football team isn't.
Yeah, it was awesome, though. Then they played the national anthem together. And they did this really cool thing where our band was on one end zone and their band was on the other, and then they sprinted towards each other. And I'm like, what are they doing? Playing Red Rover? What's going on?
Jousting with trombones.
Right. And then they just intermingled and played the national anthem, which was awesome. And then the game started. And Ward, we only sat down during timeouts. We only sat down in commercial breaks. Everybody was up and tense and figuring out the machinations of the game. Give me your experience as this game started.
Well, I just wanted to see what the push was in the line on both sides of the ball. Like I wanted to know right away physically, how are we going to hang with these guys in the trenches? And we made a lot of mistakes early on. We were shooting ourselves in the foot in a way that's not very characteristic.
Yes.
I was like
You landed it.
I was 2 sentences ahead and took a ski jump on that word.
Yeah.
So but because we were not getting physically dominated, and you knew how well we've done down the stretch in some of these games, Penn State, Iowa, even Oregon, though it didn't feel up front in that game like we were having as much of a mental issue as maybe we were in this one. Just felt like, we're going to get calmed down and we'll be okay, because every time that ball snapped going either direction, we're more than holding our own.
Then the first play on offense happens.
Well, yes.
Mendoza drops back.
It felt like I thought we were watching Pacers Game 7 all over. It was horrible.
I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't even tell who was down at the beginning. And then everybody goes, it's Mendoza. And you could just feel everybody's heart went like into their throat.
Sure.
And but he sits up and the crowd starts to cheer. He goes off like, okay, is he going to be able to come back? Alberto comes in, we get the first down, and then here comes Fernando back like a movie entrance back into the game.
Yeah, well, because I don't know if they showed replays of the hit.
They didn't.
They definitely did on national television, and it was like, oh, he got rocked, but you couldn't quite tell. And you're like, kind of the way he's kicking his feet, you're like, hopefully it's just he got the air knocked out of him, but there was enough action up around the chin and face mask. Be like, but is he also semi-conscious? Like,
Right.
are they going to go take him in a tent kind of thing? And then when it became pretty clear he was just waiting the one play to come back in, because I think probably 90% of the people in that building rooting for Indiana are also Pacers fans. And to be right there again at the very beginning of arguably the biggest game in your program / franchise's history, and to see your star go down in a serious way, very triggering.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's arguable. I'd say it's the biggest game in the franchise and program history, both of them.
Sure.
So then the game, it's such a different experience seeing a game in person, and you don't have all the angles and they don't show any of the close plays on replay, which sucks. I don't get it.
I don't either.
Don't get it.
Especially when it's a neutral. Like sometimes I get the home team wanting to show like the replays that are maybe favorable or not, but a neutral game, you would think they would just be showing you at least what TV's showing you.
Plus, everybody in there paid really good money to see the game. Show them all the game.
Yeah.
We should get more replays. It just felt tense. And look, we drive the field. We have to kick. We have to punt. We stop them. The interception felt amazing. What a play by Lou Moore. But field goals instead of touchdowns when we get into the red zone. And it felt, in my head, I'm like, we're doing what Michigan did. We're scoring field goals at the beginning of the game and not touchdowns, and we need touchdowns. But that defense would not give in. They would not relent. The only real score they give up is the touchdown after a bullshit interception where it should have been a penalty, right?
Yeah, that defense was it was not a great string of events, but you could barely put it on the defense where they started with the ball, the couple penalties, which, yes, by the letter of the law, yes, but also really you're gonna find that and call that now.
Right.
It did feel like, and somebody who watched the game with us who was admittedly not a college football fan and never has been, and has really gone away from professional football to the NFL. Because the refs just ruin the game. They make such an outsized impact on the game compared to basketball. He's like, I can't deal with it anymore. And in that stretch of 2 or 3 plays in a row, I was like, well, you're right, because this is now the biggest story of the game are the refs instead of what the players are doing. Fortunately, it pretty much got cleaned up and changed after that, but at that point it felt like the fix is in.
When Ohio State scored the touchdown, I was despondent. I was like, oh, this is not good. We're not scoring touchdowns. And Stella was there to just, it's not over. We're going to win this. We're going to do this. It's fine. We're playing well. And she doesn't really know what's going on, but it was great to have her there and be my guide through my emotional roller coaster.
Yes.
I did think that stopping them on the last drive of the first half, when they got the ball and could have driven and then scored and gotten the ball back, I thought that was massive that we stopped them. Massive.
And that's the drive, right, where there was was it that beginning of the second half where he chucked it down and they got like a 30-40 yard chunk play, and if it weren't for one arm stopping the receiver, they would have gone up 14-3.
Yes, exactly.
That was the most terrifying moment of the game for me, because if he breaks that loose and we're down 14-3, now we have a problem.
Exactly. So we go into half down 10-6, right? Which is like, okay, it felt like we haven't played well, and the number one team in the country isn't really doing anything against us.
Yeah, no, you had to have confidence knowing that if we play the second half like we have most of the season, we can win this.
Let's also talk about the fact that Omar Cooper goes out with an injury. Mikal Kamara goes out with an injury.
What's crazy, though, and it's because what Becker did when Surratt went out, I was like, that sucks, but we don't need him to win. Like, we are such a good team. And look, this defense we could talk about all day at every position, but with the offensive line and having to plug players in that have gone down throughout the season, and Becker being the shining example now twice of the depth we have at skill positions is just truly a testament to, well, like Mendoza. Okay. I think, hey, God bless Alberto. Maybe he could have shocked the whole world, but I think Fernando is the only guy like we couldn't win without.
I'm with you. So then we get the ball. They get the ball to start the half, and we stop them right away. I'm like, oh my God, we just stopped them 2 straight drives.
Huge.
That's all the momentum is now with us. And then we marched down the field on them, right? That was the drive that we scored the touchdown.
That was it from Fernando. Just, I mean, and it was like an NFL play. And somebody I was watching with, it was like Surratt's like Mike Evans. Like he is just so big and strong, and he's not always open. But even if somebody's hanging all over him, somebody who's an NFL prospect is hanging all over him, he is just so good, so confident, and his hands are like iron vice grips that you get it to where Fernando did perfectly. He's going to come down with it, and he did.
I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, oh my God, we're winning with 2.5 quarters already played. Oh my God, we're winning, and the third quarter is over.
And this is the first time Ohio State has trailed this season.
No. In the second half.
In the second half. Yes. Sorry. In the second half. They'd only trailed for, I don't know.
A little bit against Michigan.
Yeah. And we trailed like 8 more minutes than them in the second half, or 8.5. So as we're going from the third quarter into the fourth, I'm starting to calculate at what point have they now been trailing more in the second half than us.
And then it just becomes, can we get this other touchdown? Can we make it a 2-score game? And everybody in my section was like, the defense is going to have to win this game. The defense is going to have to win this game. And then Ohio State goes on what seems like a 45-minute drive. And they're driving down the field in the fourth quarter. And I'm like, oh, they're going to, at the very least, they're tying this game up. But it felt like they were going to score a touchdown. Every run seemed to get like 5 yards. But we are sacking him a little bit now. You know,
sacking him 5 times, and he'd been sacked 6 times all season.
Yes.
Insane. It's like what we did to Dante up in Oregon.
And Jeremiah Smith, who, that's his name, right? Jeremiah or Jeremy, whatever, their big wide receiver.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who seemed like he was getting the better of Pons at the beginning of the game. He was just bigger and stronger.
Yeah, I mean, it's 6'3" to 5'9". Like, Pons is such a hero for hanging in there.
But he became a non-factor. I mean, obviously Pons did the job. He became a non-factor. And then they line up for that field goal. And he's kicking it into our end zone. So we're in the corner, which is a tough angle, right? And he kicks it, and Stella starts cheering immediately. And then I wait for the referees to do this,
of
right?
Course, yes.
And they do, and the place goes bonkers. I'm like, Stella, she goes, I could just tell he didn't kick it good. He didn't kick it good. Like, so we're now freaking out. And then the plays to get the first downs, the throw to Charlie Becker on 3rd and 6.
Wait, but how about the overturned first down inside the 1 yard line?
Let's talk about that because it's totally reversed in that we in the stadium knew what was going on.
Yes, and we were at commercial break, and they sort of said in passing, we're going to go to review that, and been like, okay, well, and then we come back from commercial break, and we just have the ball.
So on that 4th down, they ran it, they called first down, and then they showed the replay because it was a first down.
Mm-hmm.
And when they showed the replay, I'm looking at it, I'm like, is his knee down? Did his knee go down immediately? And I start asking people around me, and they're like, I don't know. Then the commercial break happens, and I'm like, guys, they're reviewing it. And then I'm just deadlocked on the referee watching in the screen. And then he goes to make the announcement, and he announces to the stadium. So we all hear it. His knee was down. The play has been reversed. And like 50% of Indiana fans were tracking it. The other 50 were confused, as you can imagine. And I start losing my mind. I'm like, it's our ball. It's our ball. And the place explodes when everybody realizes what happened. And then from deep in our end zone, deep in our territory, we have to get out of there, right?
Oh, yeah, that's the danger zone.
And we do. We get enough good plays to make it happen.
And this is where shout out to Shanahan and obviously execution by the players. of just keeping it balanced. That, we weren't gashing them in the run game. We weren't taking the lid off the defense often, but it was to be able to just grind out the 3, 4, 5 yards, the critical, we were so great on third down and like the 1 4th down we had. It was just like
that Nowakowski throw and reception. Awesome.
And none of it, with the exception of a couple plays, that one we've discussed, one we're about to, that weren't, the most exciting or the most sexy. It was just always what we needed when we needed it, again and again. In a game that I think total, you counted up, there was a total of 4 drives in the entire game. Like it was crazy how few possessions there were.
Yeah, long possessions. 3rd and 6, time winding down. They have all of their timeouts. If you don't score, if you don't get a first down here, it does not feel good at all.
They got 2 minutes. They got 2 minutes to run it down the field and win.
And 3 timeouts.
Right.
And the 2-minute warning. And he throws that deep pass to Becker, who beat the defensive back for Ohio State, who no doubt will be in the NFL. And I don't know how Becker's not going to be in the NFL. The guy just seems like a stud.
He's still got 2 years of eligibility left.
And he hasn't played football that long.
Oh, I didn't know.
He was like a track guy.
Oh, amazing.
That throw and that catch, and the fact that he caught it. No, the bomb was the one where he caught it with the guy's arm in his clutch.
In his arm.
But, I mean, we're all now doing the math. How much time can we take off the clock?
Yeah. Same. And we're like, I think it's about 30 seconds.
We're all arguing. There's like a heated argument. Guys like, there's going to be a minute left. And I'm like, no, I think we can get it down to 30. No, it's not. It's a 25-second shot clock or play clock. I'm like, no, isn't it 40? And the arguments are happening. And then, like, what are we arguing about?
Yeah.
And then we get it's 3rd down. It's 4th down. We run the clock as much as we can. We punt it. They get the ball deep in their territory with 25 seconds left?
Yep, that's what it ended up being.
They run a couple plays that don't. The first play was the best, where they got like 1 yard and ran out of bounds.
Yeah.
And ran 5 seconds off the clock.
Yeah, it took a long time to develop.
But then the play that really took the most time was the one that ran it from 15 to 2. And now there's 2 seconds left in the game, and there's no way they can throw a Hail Mary. There's no way. And I look at Stella, and she is losing her mind. I'm losing my mind. I'm like, we're going to win this game. We're going to win this game. We're going to win the Big Ten championship. We're number 1 in the country. We're going to the Rose Bowl. We just beat Ohio State. We're the best program in the country. And then the play happens, and we can't tell what the hell is happening. Who caught it? Why isn't he down? Is the game over?
On TV either. The celebration video I posted, you hear me yell behind the camera, what is happening? Because it's just this scrum with 6 players, but they're all going to the turf together.
And then it is just a release of emotion. I'm sure for everybody in the stadium and out. Confetti starts falling. I mean, I've never been this happy at a sporting event. It is my singular. I was at the St. Louis Cardinals winning Game 7 in 2011 for the World Series, which was sensational. But we expected to win that game, and it wasn't a very close game.
Yeah, so there's not as much tension and release. Yeah.
This was beyond.
Yeah, it came down to the last play. It really did. Even if it was a long shot, a very long shot for them to win it, it was until the final whistle blew, it was not decided.
We beat them at their game. Defensive struggle. All we heard all year. This is a historically good defense, right? Nobody can do anything. And look, they were.
Yeah.
The stats prove it, and we only scored 13 points. Should have had 16, but should have had more. Should have had some touchdowns.
And they should add 3 more also. So that is neutralized.
Which we're going to get to because Sig talks about it a little bit.
Yeah.
But watching the celebration, watching the Big Ten trophy presentation, being there to be able to cheer when Joel Klatt announces that Indiana is the Big Ten champion, it was remarkable. It was unlike anything I've ever experienced before.
Well, it's forever, and look, we all, and nobody more than Coach Sig and the team has more goals that they want to accomplish this very season. But that's a championship. That's a title. That's a banner. That's a medal. That's a trophy. That's something they can never take away from us. And in this era, especially where you get to play a singular game, it's not split or decided by voters. And when the number 1 and number 2 team in the country are playing in that game, there's so many things about it that were historic, not just for Indiana, but for the conference and for the country and for the game. It was such a huge thing that is it in of itself is a something you put on the shelf forever, and you can always enjoy that. Now let's go get one more of those and make it a twofer for the season. But it's not just like making it to the playoffs or qualifying for a bowl game or getting in a bowl game. That means, okay, you won that bowl game, which means you ended up coming in 5th in AP voting. It's like, no, you were the number 1 team, undefeated team in the best football conference in the country, certainly at the top end this year. So that's forever. And you guys got to be there for a championship.
The walk back to the hotel from Lucas Oil with thousands of other Hoosier fans and thousands of Buckeye fans.
How'd they take it? How'd they take the news?
You know, there's a couple of Buckeye fans that were in our section. They must have gotten tickets from an IU fan or bought them on StubHub or something. They came up to me as we were celebrating, and it was a guy and his son. The guy was probably in his late 50s, early 60s. He patted me on the back. He goes, "That was so much fun to be in this section with you. You guys deserve this." I said, "Let's do it again in a few weeks."
Sure.
And he said, "No, I don't want to see your defense again." It was wonderful. So walking past, though, in the downtown area and seeing the Ohio State fans just dejected. Yeah. They couldn't believe it. We pass a White Castle, which Stella and I had talked about. I talked to you about the White Castle.
Oh, I know that White Castle.
We went to the White Castle. I made Stella go in and order alone because I was smoking my victory cigar.
Yeah, had to do it. Had to be on brand.
She ordered 6 sliders. She came out. No, total.
Really?
Yeah.
Such restraint.
She ate 1. I said, "How do you like it?" She goes, "It's disgusting."
Yeah.
And I go, "Yeah, it is. And I'm going to eat 5. I pounded 1 and realized they really are disgusting. They really are disgusting. And said, "Who wants White Castle?" And an Indiana fan was like, "Me." I threw him the bag of 4 more. We walked back. We went to Rocky Patel Burn. I went into the humidor where I was telling you this. This is our target demo. Cigar smoking Indiana Hoosier fans at an Indiana event. Guys were giving me cigars, taking pictures. We celebrated. We got back to the hotel at 1:45 a.m. and watched as many highlights, talked to you, talked to the goons, talked to my dad, talked to anybody who wanted to talk. I didn't get to bed till about 4 a.m. It was remarkable. But what we want to do now, Ward, and I know you've got some limited time here, is there was just so much to take in. I went through and created a little video of some clips that I thought we could play and then react to from the moment the game ended till yesterday's press conference. Just some sound bites from various people that I thought we could use as a way to react to the aftermath.
Yeah, this is what we were all doing for not just hours after the game, but the next day and today, is just watching this stuff over and over. And look, we've got 3.5 weeks as the number 1 team in the country, as the Big Ten champ, to just relive this stuff. And it's just, I'm so glad we got to be number 1 just at this moment, just in for the holidays. We get to be number 1 for the holidays after not being number 1
ever
for forever, for 90 years since number 1 was a thing in the country. To just have that happen at this moment, so we can just enjoy the next basically month of being number 1 till we, and look, this is probably one of the quotes of Sig. Do you have the number 1 quote from Sig in this?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
He said, "It only matters if you finish that way."
Yes, I have that. All right, so let's go to Fernando Mendoza right after the game.
The best.
Indiana, the Big Ten champs. How does that sound?
It sounds so beautiful. I want to give all the glory to God. You're never supposed to be in this position, but by the glory of attention to one goal. That's our thing, is we're brothers. We can drag teams into the deep end because we know that we're going to stick together and we're the strongest glue ever.
Tell me about finding Charlie Becker, third down, 2 minutes to go. We talk about Heisman moments. Take me through that one.
What an incredible, he's been every single day in summer. We were always thrilled before practice, before at 7 a.m. on Sundays, doing spots, doing routes, and now you see it to come to fruition. He's my roommate, couldn't be happy for such a young man as well as our defense playing lights out. And well, everybody what an incredible moment.
Congratulations, enjoy it.
Thank you so much. God bless, go Hoosiers.
I mean, look, I have a neighbor down the street, wrote for Saturday Night Live for 7 years. And I sent him that video. I'm like, is this not an SNL sketch come to life? Because like that level of emotion, and yet the way he's able to stay perfectly on point. And then he's also got that, like, he will not swear. So he's going to say flippin', like he's such a character, like his coach, in a completely different way. But to have our now future inevitable Heisman Trophy winner be so entertaining in a post-game interview, like the kid's got it all.
And him talking, I love when he said, we know if we can drag a team into the deep water.
Yeah,
I love it.
Like a gator, and the hand gestures, like
The
everything.
brotherhood.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's all real.
Oh.
Like, and his giving glory to God. Look, I'm a Jewish guy. You know, you're not a religious person.
I'm spiritual.
You're spiritual. He is a very devout Christian. It's real to him. The brotherhood is real to him.
The process
each other
is
we're
real.
Process oriented. He's putting
Yes.
that in the post game interview. It's just, it fills you with so much joy to root for this kid. And Ward, we talked to him almost a year ago.
Yeah.
After he had committed, we had him on, and we talked about it afterwards. There is something different about this kid.
Absolutely. And he was sitting in a dorm room he shared with Alberto, or an apartment wherever they were living, and he just got there, but he had that same focus and enthusiasm and energy and just being on point and on message. But that was with he was in an apartment in Bloomington
with a game 9 months away.
Yeah. So then look, we'd seen his post-game interview at Berkeley that was comparable, right? Where we knew that he had that level of passion and feeling inside of him. But to see, and hopefully people watch that at home, or they watch it the night of, with tears in his eyes, right? This is a guy who feels it. And as much as he has a high intellect and a serious CPU to do the pre-snap and post-snap reads, like he feels so much. And when he does talk about his mom, which is like so inspiring, and in terms of being family, he is there. He's there largely because of his brother and with his brother. Like, all of this is so special. And I hope we have another decade of this with Sig, but there is something very magical about this season, obviously where the programs come from. But for a kid from Miami by way of Berkeley to show up and to lead us to 13-0 and then give us a post-game interview that is one of the most hilarious and yet heartwarming things you'll ever see.
Let's go to who he talked about, Charlie Becker.
What did this group of young men know that no one else seemed to?
It all started from the summer workouts when we all came together and we had a brotherhood. We're all really close, and that's what creates a good culture and a good team. It's what the coaches came in here and did. They created a great culture, and we were so blessed to be able to come out here, and all glory to God. Without him, none of this would be possible. So all glory to him.
How would you describe the connection you share with and the leadership of your quarterback?
As soon as Fernando got here, me and his brother, we've been roommates since our freshman year when we first got here. So as soon as his brother got here, we were already super close. And every single spring at 5:30, 6 in the morning, we would go to the indoor, work on that connection, and it's amazing to see it pay off.
A message to America about your coach, Coach Cignetti.
The Hoosiers are real, and we're here.
You can't say it any better than that. Congratulations. Enjoy with your teammates, Charlie.
Thank you so much.
Just absolutely incredible. I mean, just again, a guy talking about the brotherhood. And it's funny because Sig, and we'll get to him talking a little too, Sig is all about do your job, right? Like that is, if you were in the LEO camp or the do your job camp, Sig is much more in this Belichick Saban world than this touchy-feely, love each other world. And yet, at the core of this team is a touchy-feely brotherhood, brothers in arms. We fight for each other. We'll die for each other. We work for each other. We live for each other. We play for each other. That just makes this all the more joyful.
And I think it was Jake Butt. Is that the guy's name from Michigan? He's the commentator for Big Ten Network on the field there at the table. And I think he said it a couple times how authentic this team is.
Yes.
And I think because Sig is so authentic as a human being, the cocky nerd, as he's been coined here as of late, he's just himself. And clearly one of his greatest talents is alchemy. He's like an alchemist with his own staff, with his own players, is bringing these guys together in short order, right? Because that's part of the equation now in college sports across the board with NIL, with the portal. Like, you need to get these guys together and make it click fast. And you can't do that by yourself. Your staff can't do that. That's got to be upon the players like Fernando Mendoza and Charlie Becker to get up at 7 a.m. in the spring and go out there and work on those connections that are going to pay off in the Big Ten championship game.
Let's go to something that no Indiana football fan ever thought that they would ever see in their lifetime.
Well, Hoosier fans, what do you think now? What an incredible Big Ten championship game. Number 1 versus number 2 lived up to the hype. And now the Indiana Hoosiers are the champions of the Big Ten.
Just hearing him say that, Ward, I mean, being in that building and just hearing the guy on the announce say that, I mean, it like just sent goosebumps all over my body, and it continued. Let me go to the next one before you jump in here.
To present tonight's trophy, the commissioner of the Big Ten, Tony Petitti, to the head coach, Coach Cignetti, of the 2025 Big Ten champion Indiana Hoosiers.
Besides all the thank yous to the president, Pam Whitten, the AD, Scott Dolson, our assistant coaches, our team, our seniors, our fans, all right? We are Big Ten champions. And you talk about changing the way people think. I got 3.5 weeks to get this team humble and hungry for the playoffs.
He's having the time of his life.
And he raised the trophy.
And Rabbi said this, that there's this visceral go IU that came from him. Like that came from the depths of his soul. And when you think about everything this guy had to do to get to where he was, like he literally had to have his last program. He had to get them elevated to the highest level of college football. Nobody was giving him a shot at the highest level. So he went to a program and just pulled it up to the highest level and then got that program into the top 25. And now they're so good, they're going to the playoffs without him based on what he built. But then here he gets this shot at like 65 years old. And at a few years ago, that guy was probably as unlikely to be in this moment as the Indiana football program was. And you just talk about a perfect marriage of two of the most unlikely partners coming together between us and him. And now he is us. And that, like, he could have had any job he wanted in this recruiting cycle. Any of them, any of those schools, LSU, any of them would have loved to have him with what he's done. But you can just tell he is now a Hoosier for life.
Coach, tonight you beat the #1 team in the country, which means tomorrow, for the first time in this program's history, Indiana will be the #1 team in the country.
Well, it only counts if you finish here.
Coach, congratulations. Good luck in the playoffs.
That's it.
That's his mindset. What's next?
Yeah.
What's next? Enjoy the shit out of it. But There's that great Kobe Bryant meme where they in the NBA Finals, they were like down 2-0. They win a game 2-1, or they tied it at 2-2. And a reporter asked Kobe Bryant, you don't seem too happy. And he's like, job's not done. Is the job done? Job's not done. And that's Coach Cignetti. Enjoy it, but the job ain't done.
It is such an interesting predicament to be in, because we can't not, and we as fans will do all the celebrating for them. Pretty much as of today, I guarantee you everybody in that program has turned their mind to the Rose Bowl and to Alabama/Oklahoma, but on their behalf, we will continue to celebrate this championship while also knowing now they've raised what we believe is possible. How many of us were really not sure we could go toe-to-toe with Ohio State, even though they gave us proof with the talent at Oregon, at Penn State, that we could compete with that level of talent. I mean, even amongst our own now, the doubters, like we've got to be, all doubt has to be vanquished. Not saying we will win this whole thing, but that we absolutely can win this whole thing. And we have the absolute right guy in place to do it.
MVP of the Big Ten championship game is your quarterback, Fernando Mendoza. Fernando, you've had some incredible moments this year. Big throws at Oregon, Iowa, Penn State, but maybe none bigger than that ball down the right side to Charlie Becker tonight. Take us through it.
It was a phenomenal play. First of all, I want to give all the glory to God. I wouldn't be in this position without the fantastic support of our coaches, teammates, and just the Indiana brotherhood in general. I want to give the mic to Aiden Fisher.
Hold on, real quick. I got one more. Hold on, Aiden. You got to hold on real quick. Because we got something else that's about to happen in the next couple of days, Fernando. You came in as the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. You told us that you came to Indiana to be the best Fernando you could be. Well, how good is it?
It's the most unbelievable feeling in the world. I'm so blessed to have such great teammates, coaches, and everybody. I mean, who would ever thought the Indiana Hoosiers are Big Ten champs? Go to college football club. Let's go!
You can't really hear it on the TV broadcast. We were all chanting Heisman Mendoza.
Oh, you could hear it. You could hear it. I just didn't realize maybe not the whole crowd. But
it was deafening. It was deafening.
Well, and this is where, let's say there's the three things that really matter. And not only will Indiana fans remember forever, but college football fans. Who won the Big Ten championship, right? That's something, at least amongst your conference. But when you're the best conference in America and you got the one,
well, and this one, because it's us and because of who we beat. Yes.
But it's so the trifecta is win the Big Ten, win the Heisman, and win the national championship. And it looks pretty darn certain we're going to win 2 out of the 3, hopefully on the way to the 3rd. But that's when Cignetti is, and look, he's saying Purdue sucks. Yeah, sure, Purdue sucks. And we believe you can beat them. But so does Michigan and Ohio State. And he's going to take Michigan out in year 1 and take Ohio State out in year 2. He's going to be at the Big Ten title game before he even starts, saying, I had to see what it looks like up here because we're going to be here next year. And yes, he was a year late, but he got there and he won it by dethroning the champs. It's like this man's prophetic, but he's virtually one step away from the ultimate trifecta in college football, which how many times has that happened in terms of the team getting a sweep of all the major awards or accomplishments? There's a chance if we win 3 more games that we're going to go down certainly as maybe the most memorable team in college football, modern college football history, but maybe the best too.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna let you guys do what you came up here to do. But Aiden, I'm gonna hold the mic and you can cue the whole building. So Rob, I think we're going to get one little cue here from Aiden. What do you say, Aiden?
Well, my husband wants to do something. He wants to sing that damn song. I said a one, a two, and you know what to do.
Rob Stone.
So look, everybody was going at their own speed on that song, so it didn't play well.
Because in the locker room they do this like amped up, bouncy, fast version. So it was
and the 70-year-olds that were in the crowd were not ready for that. But it was amazing. We were singing our brains out. Stella was hugging me, and Stella doesn't even like to hug. It was amazing. What Charlie Becker did at the end of that was he did OHFU.
Yeah. I knew the FU, but I didn't know what was going on with the
OH. He was doing the OHIO chant that the fans at Ohio State do.
Well, and to me, that is revenge for what Will Howard was doing at the end of the game in Columbus last year, which I will hate him forever for that. And oh, by the way, Will Howard, go FU yourself.
Yep. All right. So the game is over. And now you get a little bit of not perspective, but you get a little bit more calm conversation.
If you Google Coach Cignetti right now, it's been updated. It is going to say Big Ten champion.
Yes, sir.
Coach Cignetti. Thank you. Yeah. These are your people, man.
Well, you know, I can't hear anything you said, but I think you said Big Ten champs. It was a gutty win, which is what we talked about at halftime, to be quite honest with you. Do we have the perseverance? Are we tough enough to gut out a win like this? Yeah. The way that game was going, and we did. Now, they scratched some run game out in the second half, missed the field goal. I used to have a neighbor, an old timer back in Morgantown, West Virginia. He said, I'd rather be lucky than good. But we missed the field goal too, so I guess it's even.
To be a great coach and to be a great, like, anything at a certain level, like great CEO, great leader, great, politician, there is an element of pettiness that is important because it means you can't let any small detail get by you. He makes the point that Ohio State did miss the field goal, okay? But he can't leave it there because that means that they did something bad instead of us doing something good. So he has to follow it up quickly with, oh, by the way, we missed one too, so it's even. So it is a fact, but it's like that's in his brain that he needs to level set. So everybody knows, yes, they missed a field goal, but so did we. And so we still beat them. It was even there, and we beat them fair and square. I just love that that's still part of his makeup.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the chip on his shoulder like so many of the guys on this team do. And with the recruiting talent star disparity, these guys coming from not exactly powerhouse programs to show up at IU, at the least powerful Power 5, Power 4 program ever. I think that's really worked to our advantage. Just having, look, when you think about this is now the second most popular sport in America, right? Behind the NFL. And this is something where everybody's paying attention. Annie, she goes to work, at Netflix, and people are talking to her about IU football. I'm at the outdoor mall, the Americana yesterday, but I'm still wearing my hoodie. I'm starting to sweat, but I'm like, I'm not taking this off. I want people to see me in it. And of course, it's a Michigan fan who comes up to me, which, by the way, for the record, of course, I hear from all my IU people, but all my Michigan fans came out of the woodwork yesterday. I swear they're at least as happy as we are about what has happened. But what Cignetti's doing, you can just go through the subreddit for college football, which has millions of subscribers, all the different teams. Tennessee, even Ohio State, wherever you come from, everybody's like, this is the greatest turnaround in the history of the sport, if not in all of sports.
All right, this next clip I pulled out because it's Coach Cignetti talking about having fun.
It's been a lot of fun. I don't look like I'm having fun, but I'm going to have fun when I get in that coach's room.
I just love him addressing like the demeanor, because everybody talks about the demeanor. It never looks like he's happy. He's never smiling.
I think that's a false narrative. I
agree with you.
Very outdated. Just somebody hasn't been watching him most of this season, if that's what they think his vibe is.
And this is his life. I mean, think about going back to what Antoine Randall L. told us. Antoine Randall L. is arguably the number 1 or 2 best football player to ever play at Indiana University, right? It's him or Anthony Thompson.
Yeah, well, Fernando might have something to say in a minute.
Not long. He's going to be the only Heisman winner, but his body of work, because only 1 year, but whatever.
Got it.
Antoine Randall L. won a Super Bowl as a player and a coach. Antoine Randall L. was an all-pro in the NFL. Antoine Randall L. has gone to the playoffs with Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Detroit Lions, and maybe the Chicago Bears. He comes back to Indiana to meet Coach Cignetti before Cignetti has coached a game for Indiana, before Coach Cignetti has coached a game at the Power 4 level. And Antoine wants to get to know him a little bit. And Cignetti's like, we're going to talk ball. All I'm doing is talking ball. That's all it is. If all you're about is ball, this is the most fun you can possibly have.
100%. He's having the time of his life. And I wonder, what was his demeanor when his other programs were winning their conferences, or, those quarterbacks were winning player of the year in their conferences. Was he cracking that Coors Light and having some laughs with his staff, which clearly he did Saturday night in Indianapolis and or Bloomington. But yeah, I love, obviously he's all business during the game. And somebody was asking him on one of these post-game shows about why aren't you showing any real emotion, except for when you're yelling at the refs. You seem so even keel on the sideline. And he's like, I'm trying to stay on top of the situation. Like when he's in practice, in film session, and certainly in game mode, he's just constantly trying to be one step ahead, figuring out what, as the CEO, he needs to make sure his staff is doing to handle the situation. But the whistle blows and they win the game, and he's ready to crack a beer and have a good time. Even in post-game interviews, he's not even waiting to get back in the locker room.
Right. I don't think I have this on the clip reel, but I can't remember which press conference it is. I've watched so much stuff since Saturday night. I'm sure you have too.
All of it.
They talked to him about how do you create a culture? How do you create this culture of accountability where everybody is doing as much as they possibly can? And he actually got into some specifics about, literally our meetings are at 7 a.m. That's on purpose. Like the coach meetings are at 7 a.m. I get in at 5 a.m. That's on purpose. And when I walk into that room, the moment I walk into that room, those 10 guys, referring to the coaches, need to understand how serious I am. And then you raise everybody's bar. That's how you start to create a culture. At 7 a.m. with the 10 guys in the room who then have to go coach the players.
Well, really, it starts at 5 a.m. because all those guys know when you show up. And I bet a lot of them show up right then or soon thereafter because they got to keep up with the boss.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting. And I do have some clips of him talking about some interesting philosophical stuff that I want to get to. So let's get to this next one.
Wait, just because it fits with what you just said, it is part of the clips coming in terms of being as economical with his words as possible. Is that in that package?
No,
because that was one of the ones I heard, that he's like, I literally try to get the message across in few words as possible. The same way we hear him talk about his practices going so quickly. It's just like he's trying to just stick and move all the time.
The opposite of how we handle our podcast.
100%.
As many words as we can use as possible.
Repeat them, just stretch them out, put pauses in between, add, I wonder.
Yeah.
Stuff it full of bullshit.
What people don't know is Community Cars pays us per word.
Yeah.
So
per syllable is going to be in the next contract, but right now it's per word.
All right. So this one is really interesting because it does fit along with just his coaching philosophy. And I loved this because he said this to us when he talked to us, a year plus ago, about his job is to coach the coaches.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I love about him is you realize, and there's a couple other things coming up that show this too. The details obviously matter for him, but he does not sweat the small stuff. And I say that somewhat colloquially and not meaning it literally, because clearly details matter. But what I mean is there's this philosophy of efficiency called the 80-20 rule, that in anything you do, really only 20% matters. And you need to spend 80% of your time on that 20%. Okay? And I believe he is a master of this. And I say this because in the press conference, and I didn't include this, they ask him to recount what happened on one of the 80-yard drives.
And he didn't know.
Yeah, but and I'm not being silly about this. This has happened several times to him where they'll ask him about a specific play and he doesn't exactly remember the exact play. He doesn't have total recall the way some
Sean McVay has.
Exactly, or LeBron has, apparently.
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't matter to him because he's coaching his coaches to coach the individual plays. He's the CEO making sure the fucking organization is working. And this next clip, I think, is so revealing about how smart he is on what he is focusing on and knowing what he needs to focus on.
I would love to talk to you about the schematics of our defense, but about 2 years ago, I just completely walked away from it. And Brian Haynes is always running, don't get me wrong. But I used to watch the defensive practice tape and stuff like that, maybe bring them in for 15 minutes. Nah, he can tell you what they did. Here's what I can tell you, okay? We attack on defense, we play aggressive, we stop the run, we affect the quarterback. We get a lot of TFLs and sacks.
Yep.
We don't give up many yards or points. We lead the country in turnover ratio.
I think that is so revealing.
Yeah, no, it stuck out to me as well. I will say, as much as it impressed me, and I was just that he has so little ego, he's willing to reveal that.
Yes.
But then also I'm like, oh shit, we really need to keep Bryant Haynes as long as we can. And then once it's time for him to move on, we need to find, somebody else who's really, really good at that job, but who better to make that hire than Cignetti?
But I totally agree with you about the lack of ego. And later on, he talks about Mike Shanahan having a lack of ego, and we'll get into that too.
Yeah.
But for a head coach to basically say, I do not get involved with the defense.
I walked away from it.
I walked away. I know what I want overall. I want an attacking defense. I want to stop the run.
Yeah.
I want to lead. I want to take the ball away. But those are things that any pundit could talk about. But the difference is he knows who to hire to go make those things happen. But once you have the guy, let him do it. And then he talks about offense. He's much more involved in the offense than he is in the defense.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was so revealing. Again, coach the coaches. And there's a reason Brian Haynes is making $2 million a year. Yep. There's a reason why Cignetti went to Dolson and said, we need to pay him $2 million a year, twice as much more as we've paid any assistant coach ever.
Well, and we are in the season where there's a lot of these coordinators, including maybe the offensive coordinator from Ohio State and others who may not be with their teams come the playoffs because they are starting to talk to other programs. Now, I have heard nothing about our coordinators talking to other programs.
Did you see the stat that I might be misstating it a little bit, but of the 12 playoff teams, if you count head coaches and coordinators, half are going to a new job next year.
And how many of them are already at that job?
Well, a lot of the coordinators are staying. I think, Oregon's coordinators are gone, I think, already.
Yeah.
But I think the smaller schools, Tulane, JMU, where the head coach is gone at JMU, but he's staying. I think the coordinators are staying. I'm not 100% positive. But Ohio State's is leaving, but he's staying. But half are leaving.
Yeah.
And continuity matters. And it clearly, again, why he's such a good CEO. He knew, I cannot lose Haynes. I can't. No one in the world is indispensable, right? We know that. No one's indispensable. There's always somebody else who can do it. But he doesn't want to do it with somebody else.
Right.
And he made it impossible for Brian Haynes to leave. Basically said to Brian Haynes, what are you going to do? You're going to go take a small head coaching job that's going to pay you $1 million a year with all the pressure and none of the resources, where you have to win at such a high level to maintain your job, or stay here where we have it cooking, where you don't have any of the pressure that the head coach has, and you make $2 million and go to the CFP. That's a good life.
Well, and both of those guys are so young, even though they've been with Cignetti for a long time. Can you keep one of them around to take over?
They have to be thinking about it.
Yeah.
Even though you can't like lay it out because it probably is 8 years away or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to be thinking about it. You have to be thinking about it. So I thought that one was extremely revealing. Let's move on to the opening from Sig now back in the locker rooms and doing the official press conference.
I thought once again, when the game was on the line, Fernando was throwing dimes and Charlie Becker was showing up making big plays, and Surratt with a big touchdown. Our defense, just created a lot of issues. Ohio State did start to scratch our run game there in the second half and missed that field goal. Of course, we missed one too, so it's even. So it's a great win for us, obviously, our first Big Ten title. And now I got 3.5 weeks to kind of humble this team and get them ready for the playoffs.
I don't get pettiness from that. I think that's more like he's looking at where we did better and where we did worse. And when he's going to go back with the coaches and say, you did your job, you didn't, that it's basically a wash, because we know that special teams was part of the reason, a big part of the reason we got waxed in Columbus. And so I think look, Nico, bless his heart, I think we all had a certain level of fear and holding our breath that he was perfect all season. And I'm kind of glad he got this out of the way in this game when it ended up not mattering, to take that pressure off a little bit. So it's not like every time he goes to kick, the announcers are like, he's been perfect all season. Like, okay, that's over. But I think in Cignetti's mind, it's like, okay, well, we literally broke even with them in special teams because we each botched a field goal and nothing else was really too significant. And I think that's just the way his computer mind works, rather than like a pettiness.
I'm going to read a quote.
Okay.
By the way, I didn't come up with this pettiness thing. I don't want people to think like I'm like coming up with some philosophical. This is something I read a long time ago and heard, and it stuck with me.
Well, because you use it to excuse your own pettiness.
Fair, but I don't have the greatness that accompanies with it. So Napoleon once said, when asked to explain the lack of great statesmen in the world, that to get, quote, to get power, you need to display absolute pettiness. To exercise power, you need to show true greatness. Such pettiness and such greatness are rarely found in one person. And that, to me, I love the quote, because to rise to a certain level of power, you do have to have a certain level of pettiness to get there. But to be a great leader, once you get there, you have to display true greatness. And it's hard to balance those two things. I think Cignetti does. I think the little thing sticks in his craw and drives him absolutely bonkers. And the idea that anyone in the media, and he does listen to media. He made a couple comments
yes,
where he
does.
said, I heard your comments about that. He
Yep.
listens.
Mhm.
The idea that anyone would say, well, Ohio State didn't win because they just missed that field goal. He needs to let people know we missed a field goal too.
That's
Do
fair.
not use that argument. And I love it. I love it.
And I will say, I've heard that tendency from him in other places, when being like, he's got that chip on his shoulder, which
Yes.
I love. And I think it's a part of his identity and that of the program. I just wasn't feeling it on these field goals. I just feel like that's him going down the box score and drawing up all the pros and cons that he has to discuss between now and the next game.
Maybe, but it multiple times comes right after he points out, like, they missed the field goal and then something clicks in his head. I better tell everybody we missed it too.
Yeah. Okay.
But I just love it because I think it shows how unique he is, because I do believe true greatness and true pettiness are rarely found in the same person. And the ones that are the great ones. Saban has it. That you call it a chip. You're calling it a chip on the shoulder. I get that. This constant chip.
F you, just
I should have been hired as a Power 4 coach earlier.
Yes, 100%. But take it away from that side of things, thinking about him going through the statistics. And this was when Urban Meyer was there, right? He was sitting in the post-game show.
That's coming up.
Okay. Well, I'll wait for that then.
It was another step we needed to take as a program. It's a great win, obviously. And we're going to go in the playoffs as number 1 seed. And a lot of people probably thought that wasn't possible. But when you get the right people and you have a plan and they love one another and play for one another and they commit, anything's possible. And I think that's what you saw happen here.
It's the first time I've heard him talk about the bond between the people. I'm sure he's talked about it in different ways, but he said they love each other.
Yeah.
And his hard exterior makes you think that he doesn't really value that stuff, but he clearly does. And he does by the people he's brought in, like Fernando Mendoza. It takes you 5 seconds to be with Fernando to realize this is a different cat who cares about the emotional side of this and the brotherhood. And clearly Cignetti cares about it too, because he wants the locker room to be united. He wants the locker room to be cohesive, and he wants them to love each other and fight for each other and be held accountable. And I just loved that he kind of talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, he talked about how much heart the team has. He's talked about those personality traits of Fernando that you touched upon there whenever they're talking about what makes Fernando so special. And I just think if you think he's got this hard ass exterior and that's it, you just haven't been paying attention like at all. Because even in the playfulness he can have in a pregame interview, probably not like during the game, but on the sideline, a little twinkle in the eye. During the games, we saw it a little bit when games were more in hand, like the Oregon game, that he's having fun. And then certainly after the games, I mean, was it after the Purdue game where he was starting to lose it? The emotion. He's very emotional. He's got a
I think it was after the Penn State game. I think it was after the Penn State game.
That's right. That's what it was. Because he had a lot going on there, a Pennsylvania boy. So I think it's he's got to have that armor to a certain degree as the CEO and keep the train on tracks. But as soon as that whistle has blown, he kind of drops the armor and he sort of wears it on his sleeve. And I love it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's go to Bones Jones talking about the impact of this game on really recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, this win, kind of shows like everybody, why not? Why would you not want to come to Indiana? I mean, for any of the doubters out there, I think this kind of, was the final nail in the coffin. For any of the Indiana doubters, the Coach Cignetti doubters, the Hoosier doubters, I think, this was the last thing that needed to be proved, and I think we did it.
I mean, that's it, right, Ward? Like, we've seen the talent disparity quotients. I'm sure you saw people showing the analysis of Ohio State's talent equation or talent quotient versus ours, and they're not even in the same ballpark. And he's getting better. We have a top 25 recruiting class coming in. And now in the biggest game of the year, on the biggest stage possible so far, we just beat the blue blood football program, Ohio State. It's just going to keep getting better. And why would you not want to come to Indiana?
Well, I agree with all of that in terms of it just keeps getting better. It's going to just keep getting better. I do wonder if there's a sweet spot for Coach Cignetti, and there's only he can decide this along with his trusted staff we talk about it in basketball of the sweet spot, which is more like the 4 stars, ranked, what do you want to say, 30 or 40 up to 80. Is there something about this chip on the shoulder where if you bring the guys in who always have had somebody ahead of them on the depth chart at the 5-star camp and they're only at the 4-star, if you suddenly are all 5-stars like Ohio State or Oregon or Penn State, is it harder even to have that alchemy, to have that chemistry, to have that personality? I don't know. That's up to Sig to decide. If he feels like he can get that with 5-stars, I feel terrible for every other team in the country.
I do think, though, you're right. Talking about that chip on the shoulder, there's a chip on his shoulder for a guy who's ranked a little lower than versus a guy who's been top 5 his whole life.
100%.
You know?
And when that is your coach's personality because of his own experience, I mean, it's working.
I pulled up the Ohio State versus Indiana talent quotient. Ohio State is ranked the 3rd most talented team in the country. Indiana 72nd. And just to put a more detail on it, Ohio State on their team has 67 5- and 4-star players. 67.
And we have
7.
0, 5,
7, 0, 5, and
4
7 4-stars. Yeah. They have 60 more 4 and 5 stars. So, but again, we've talked about this with quarterback. If you're a quarterback thinking about going into the transfer portal, how is Indiana not your number one destination right now?
For sure. 100%. And I thought there was a really interesting God. I mean, again, I've watched so much content.
Yeah, it all runs together.
That somebody was talking about how there used to be just Alabama, Ohio State, and Ohio State clearly still does. And I think the Georgias and these schools still are operating in this way, but it's getting less and it's trending less and less of having a bunch of 4 and 5 stars waiting for 2 or 3 years to get their shot. But now they can go start and get paid instead of just waiting in the back. And we've clearly been the beneficiary of that when you see getting somebody like Pat Coogan down from Notre Dame, right? And so that we're in a place now where maybe we can never get it as deep as Alabama had it with Saban, but nobody will be able to. So it bodes well that maybe even in a down year where we're going to, because when you're talking about the recruiting rankings this year and he's in the top 30 now, which is still not like, you're like, geez, still really only in the top 30. Shouldn't we be in the top 10 at this point?
Well, but like, this year affects next year.
Yes. Well, and also I just think he's still very, at least 50% of them is just laser focused on the portal because he's done this with the portal. So I don't think he's going to suddenly be like, okay, and by year 4, it's all homegrown guys. I think he's going to continue to shop in the portal as long as he's our coach.
You have to. I mean, I think in basketball too, you're not going to win with young guys. You know, it's interesting talking about the 4-star, 5-star sweet spot. We were recruiting that, I believe his name was Julian Lewis, who was a 5-star quarterback that ended up committing to Dion as a freshman.
Right. Correct.
At the end of that recruitment, we backed away. Now, part of it was because he was asking for too much money, but too much money is relative, and too much money is a decision that you have to make. And they made the decision, it's not worth it for us. And I do wonder if part of that is him going, that's just not who we are. If we could get this super talented kid for a figure that fits within my blueprint and my plan, great. But I am not going to overextend myself.
If he's got the right personality, if he's a culture fit.
Well, I have to think he was, or why would he have been recruiting him hard?
Yeah. I guess I just don't have any feel for how far into that.
We were like, it was us in Colorado at the end.
Okay. So there was enough of a feel that his character could work.
I think so, but ultimately he decided to back away for whatever reason. And I think it just shows to back away from a 5-star that was considered like the best quarterback in the class means you have ultimate confidence in your plan and what you are about and what your organization is about. And whether it's a character fit or I don't want to devote that much money to one person, he stuck to his guns. And I just respect everything about it. Okay, I had to go to this one because Elijah Surratt did not get asked as many questions as he should have been asked. By the way, Elijah Surratt is the only guy who scored a touchdown for Indiana in that game. Yeah. And it was an awesome touchdown where the guy was draped all over him and he just had to make a play on the guy. And Fernando put it in a place where he could. But in the press conference, he was asked about the fact that he has the sriracha special at Mother Bear's.
Mother Bear's, yeah, shout out Mother Bear's. Best pizza in Bloomington. Y'all need to take a stop there. Get that sriracha special.
Stella and I drove from Indianapolis to Bloomington on Sunday morning because we just wanted to be around Bloomington.
Yeah.
And it was a joyous, joyous occasion because everybody we ran across wanted to talk about the game. Everybody. And we went to Mother Bear's with Evan Martin and his family, and we went with a family friend, a freshman who we convinced the family to send their daughter to Bloomington, and she's having the time of her life. She drove to the Penn State game.
Whoa.
Yeah, she and a couple friends drove to the Penn State game and were there in the stadium for that game.
Oh, good on them.
So we had the sriracha special is a sauce that you can get on the pizza or on the chicken wings.
Oh.
And so we got it on the chicken wings. Dude, it's unbelievable.
Well, I love sriracha sauce. What I will do for pizza, I don't think I've done it for wings, is I'll mix it with ranch or blue cheese.
Well, I think what they've done with this sauce is I think it's sriracha and honey.
Oh, like a hot honey.
Because the chicken wing, you get this sweet sensation right away, and then the heat comes in the back door and hits you, and it is sensational.
That sounds fantastic. So you can just get it on any pizza, basically.
Yes, you can put it on any pizza or put it on the chicken wings. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go to the players talking about Sig a little bit.
There's something about Coach Sig that it just makes you want to, play your heart out for him. And he does a great job getting the best out of everybody.
Yeah, I think it's about being process oriented and never being complacent. For example, when we beat Purdue last week, 56-3, Coach Sig came in the locker room and said, "Hey, it's a great win. We're 12-0 for the first time in program history. However, there's going to be a lot of things on film that we got to clean up." And I think it reverts back to the Stoke philosophy of the never-ending journey of the process and not to be complacent. And I think what Aiden said was beautiful. Of you always want to push yourself every single day, every single play, and every single rep. Act like it's the final play of the game. Act like it's the most important play of the game, most important play of your life. And I think that has helped motivate us and propel us forward from games like Oregon, where we won, but we weren't complacent. We still had a lot of cleanup on film, and the next week we try to get better every single week. And I think that our whole thing is not really competing against the opponent, which it is, but it's really competing against ourselves to be the best version of ourselves. And I think that's why we're so effective.
Because people ask him about it all the time, and he talks about the process and the plan and the blueprint. And
first play, last play, fast, relentless, he's got it like rote memory.
And so you're like, okay, anybody can say that. There's nothing about any of that that's all that original, all that different. And so you got to figure, why does it work for him? There's just something about Sig. Well, it must be repetition, because even us out here in the peanut gallery are getting that repetition. We've been getting that message over and over and over. And then there's like consistency with that messaging, that repetition, and it's consistent in what's being said, and it's never wavering. And then of course there is leading by example, getting in at 5 a.m. and with, you don't hear him say it too much, but undoubtedly there is constantly an inner critic within him. Because I don't know if it's his wife or some trusted mentor or even his assistants, like, who is helping him get better at what he's doing. I'm sure nobody is harder on themselves in the job they're doing than Sig. He just doesn't really have to share it with us because it's an internal monologue.
Totally agree. All right. I want to talk about getting into them commenting on what it was like when they saw Mendoza go down on the first play.
So I got hit. I was never going to stay down. And that's one thing I know. One thing, and I say it, and I know it could be a little interpreted as a little cringy sometimes, but I will die for my brothers in that field. So no matter whether it's a gut punch, whether it's a head punch, whatever it is, I'm always going to get back up. And I knew there's 100% confidence that I was going to play that game, play the rest of the game, as we've worked so hard to get to this point that no hit, no knockout hit, or knockout punch could take me out of that game. Because one thing about the Indiana Hoosiers football team is whenever they hit, we hit back harder.
I mean, okay, look. He's a lunatic because you play a violent sport. And guess what, dude? If somebody hits you in the leg and blows out your knee, you're done. And if somebody hits you in the head and you get your bell rung and it's a real concussion, you're done. But that doesn't matter. What matters is he truly believes every word he's saying.
Oh, yeah.
He believes that he will die on that field for his brothers in arms.
He said it more than once.
Yes, but it's not, back to what you said before, it's authentic. They believe it. And when your coach feels the way about accountability in the process that Sig does, and when your best player and quarterback preaches what he preaches, how can you not follow in line and want to hold yourself accountable so that you reach the standard that the leaders of the team are setting for you?
One of several reasons why Anthony Richardson isn't the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts is he got a little winded on a play and took himself out of the game.
Right.
And at the end of the day, this is a brutal sport played by the strongest, toughest people on earth. And if you, as the leader of at least your unit, if not the entire team, waves the white flag at any point when you're physically able to go on, and it's more of a mental thing than a blown out knee or a concussed brain, it has negative repercussions with the toughness of the whole team and the willingness to fight through not just physical pain, but difficulty in a difficult situation. So this is why this kid's such a leader. And I will say, we had to take a little break here earlier when I went to pick up Porter, and I got a little bit of Fernando on the Pat McAfee show today. And I talk what I was explaining to my daughter, just how great Fernando must be at pre-snap processing and then post-snap processing of what's going on, what he thinks is going on, then what's actually going on. And your super brain has to work so quickly to make the decisions and the adjustments. And so apparently what he said on McAfee was, in the post-game interview you already played, he almost said something besides flippin'. But then something in his computer brain said, no, you can't represent the university that way. You better not say that. So he pivoted in that split second to flippin', and he copped. He's like, I know it was a little cheesy, a little corny, but it was better than making the university look bad.
A filter that and a trigger that you and I do not possess.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. I wanted to get to when they asked him about the Heisman.
I remember Coach Cignetti brought me in after, I think it was after UCLA, and he told me, he was like, hey, the Heisman's a team game. It's a team award. It's not a player award. And if you win, then you can get nominated for it. And so hopefully, I would love the opportunity to get the invite to New York, which would be fantastic. But I think it's just really a testament to the team. And it's not a player award. It's a team award. And, and I think it just speaks a testament to how much that this team has had that never-ending process of learning and getting better, and that has culminated to this point.
You know that the Heisman stuff is swirling. You're going to have to address it in some way. How do you use it to help the team? And he's right. It's a team award. And you're talking to the ultimate team guy in Fernando Mendoza. Make it his mission to be like, you want to win this thing. It's about doing whatever it takes for the team. And there's something coming up from Cignetti that I think is really interesting. I think Fernando had one game this year over 300 yards.
This is what I'm saying. Like he's had a great year. But when I think about this team, I will think about almost the entire 22. There's so many guys who had so many moments. A few guys in a few games really stood out, including Fernando with a couple 300-yard games, a couple 4-touchdown games, but it was so often 1 or 2 touchdowns. And then we got like 304 yards rushing, and that it is such a complimentary team that they have on both sides of the ball and special teams for the most part. I think this is not cliche. That would be so easy for that to be a cliche and just say it's something you should say, but it really feels authentic about this team, and not just Sig being a master motivator and psychologist, the same way we talk about Coach Knight, knowing, the right buttons to push. It's like him saying to Fernando after throwing the pick 6 at Oregon, are you having fun yet?
Right.
He just knows what that kid needs to hear at the right time.
I couldn't agree more.
And they had, when we started the drive, they had time and timeouts. They had enough time with their timeouts for about 16 plays at the start of our drive. And then they used their timeouts. And, I wasn't going to play not to lose. We were playing to win. And the one thing, we do spend a lot of time on the clock, how many plays are left in the game, things of that nature. We've kind of figured we had to get about 3 first downs. That's what I told the team. So you got to get a first down. I wasn't going to punt the ball back to them with 2 minutes to go and no timeouts. We had to give our guys an opportunity to make plays. We were getting on top of them at certain points in that game. And Fernando was throwing great deep balls, and it was a great play.
One of the things that drove us nuts as fans about the Tom Allen era is it seemed just too loose about all that kind of stuff. It just didn't seem like they had a firm handle on end-of-game situations, clock management, and clearly these guys do. I mean, he knew it was 16 plays.
Yeah, and he's got somebody up in the booth going beep, beep, boop, beep, beep, boop, 16 plays,
the
coach.
math. Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. But it's important to him, and they prioritize it.
Yes.
And he knew how many first downs he needed to get. And by the way, I think he got 2 first downs instead of the 3 that
Well,
if we
'cause
would have gotten that.
3 would have gotten us to 0.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
2 got us to 25 seconds left. So I just I love the specificity.
Here's what I'm going to say, okay? We ran the ball effectively when we needed to. I thought our backs ran really hard. The protection for the quarterback improved as the game went on. And we were able to get on top of them in some critical situations, whether it be inside or outside. And Fernando delivered dimes, and the receivers made some nice catches, and there were a couple PI calls. And there were some critical 3rd and 4th down conversions made in that game. And, it was a battle of attrition for a while there. We had guys going out left and right, and we were trying to figure out, fill in personnel groupings and special teams at one point. It was that kind of game. I apologize, I don't remember every play.
He doesn't sweat the stuff that is insignificant. It wasn't about one drive. He's like, let me tell you why we won the game. We ran the ball well. We did, the protection got better. He just is a real CEO. To win, this is what we need to do. I have coaches who know how to get it done schematically and specifically, and I will hold them accountable as they will hold the players accountable.
Yes.
And we will move forward that way.
And the players will hold themselves and each other accountable.
Absolutely. And then you have the number 1 team in the country. So I wanted to go to Urban talking about Sig and IU after the game because no higher compliment could be paid.
This is the greatest turnaround in the history of our sport, college football. It's not even close.
Yeah.
A year ago, I want to go in reverse a little bit. We were at Indiana versus, I believe it was Nebraska, and I was watching that, and I said, I went outside, and I wanted to stand next to that team and witness what I was listening. That's last year, that's this year. This is the best coaching job I've seen, certainly in my life, I think, in the history of sport.
Yeah. And earlier said, it's not even close. And now I've been all over Reddit in particular. You got hundreds of thousands of people contributing their opinions, the best ones getting upvoted. And the only other name that came up consistently in that conversation was Bill Snyder of Kansas State. But he did that over 9 years. It was a different era. And they never got to this point.
No, they never reached these heights.
And so say what you will about Urban Meyer, the teams he's coached, the kind of person he may be, he knows as much about college football as Nick Saban. Nick Saban's maybe the one guy you'd say can make a more informed opinion on such a matter. So whatever you think of the man, you can't help but be like, well, that means something. That means more than certainly what we're saying or almost any other talking head. Urban's putting his own name and reputation on the line to put that down. And that's coming from the guy who, if Cignetti wins out here in the Rose Bowl, wins one more game this season, he will pass Urban Meyer for the most wins in the first 2 seasons at any program in college football history.
So Nick Saban won a national championship at Alabama, obviously a bunch, and LSU. Pop Warner won titles at Pittsburgh and Stanford in the 19 teens and 20s. And Urban Meyer won at Florida and Ohio State. Those are the 3 that won national championships at different schools. And in the last 100 years, it's only 2, Saban and Meyer. And you have Urban Meyer saying, this is the best coaching job, I believe, in the history of the sport. I mean, that's who we get to watch on the sidelines for the Indiana Hoosiers.
And
I wanted to
that,
show. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and just that is, it's such a big statement. Obviously, the importance of it, the historic nature of it, but what it means is you have to be great at so many different things. And one thing Cignetti's had to be great at that Saban not really, and certainly not Urban, had to be great at is the whole NIL portal area. And here's a guy who's an older coach who came up old school and has been able to be so adaptive to the changing landscape that yes, there were other things maybe Urban and Nick had to contend with in their days, though they were always very well resourced, even before it was legal.
Yeah, I was going to say they dealt with NIL too. They just had an unlimited pot when other people didn't.
It was much easier for them. There were not a lot of people bidding against them.
Absolutely. I don't know what your opinion is, but I like Joel Klatt.
Yes, I do.
I like him.
I do.
I think he's really smart. I think he's really good at the games. And I love his podcast that he does. And he talked about Indiana.
That game on Saturday night lived up to every ounce of what I thought it could be. It was an incredible atmosphere in Lucas Oil Stadium. It was loud. Those teams were playing some unbelievable defense. I mean, unbelievable defense. It was everything I hoped it would be, and then some, and then some. I thought Matt Patricia and the defense for Ohio State was outstanding. I thought Bryant Haynes and Indiana on defense were better than outstanding. They were fantastic. Bryant Haynes is one of the best assistant coaches, defensive coordinators in the country. No one talked about Indiana's defense this year because Ohio State was historically good. But man, the Hoosiers, they are so good on defense. Slippery up front. They can run on the second level, play great zone coverage. D'Angelo Pons is a star, only 5'9", but can cover. Man, that was fun to watch.
I watched that just a little bit before we started taping earlier. I love the term like slippery up front.
Yeah.
You know, very evocative of what that front is doing. But what I wanted to do is just pull up the roster on the defensive side and kind of go through, because these are names we haven't really mentioned here today, maybe in passing a couple of them. But when I think of like the 2007 Super Bowl champ Colts, or we think of the 87 Hoosiers, we think of these great teams, championship or championship level teams. You do tend to think of like all of them, because everybody has to be you can't really have a weak link to win a championship. And it's like, look at all these stars. But we just start with the leading tackler of the team for the whole season, who's usually like the sixth guy mentioned, Elijah Hardy, Lewis Moore, Aiden Fisher, Bones Jones, Devin Boykin, D'Angelo Pons, Amari Farrell, Jamari Sharp, Stephen Daly, who was an afterthought until Wyatt got hurt, and everybody thought that was devastating because Wyatt was such a stud. But then Stephen Daly turns out to be the most tackle for losses as anybody in the country. Tyreek Tucker, Wheeler, Landino, Kamara. We just got to him. Like, those dudes are all studs. Those are all names we should all always remember, because at all three levels, I think now, I don't know what the statistics say, but now I think that we have the number one defense in the country.
Well, and how about Hardy was the one who made the play in the end zone, right?
Unbelievable. Save the game.
Save the game. And if there was one gripe I had with the Big Ten championship game, obviously I think Fernando Mendoza should win the Heisman. I don't think he should have been MVP of that game.
Who would you pick?
The defense. I think they should have made an exception and just given it to the defense. I do. The defense won that game, Ward. The defense won that game.
But it's an individual award.
I don't care. These are stupid rules that are arbitrary anyway. They should have or Fernando should have given it to the defense, and he probably will.
He tried to give him the microphone.
Yeah. The defense as a unit, what they did in that game, the number of third and short or fourth and short that they stopped Ohio State on.
Ohio State, I think, was like 4 and 12, like out of 12 third and fourth downs, they got 4.
I mean, you're absolutely right. By the way, I saw a stat on Kamara. The knock on Kamara all year has been, he changed positions and now he's not making an impact. I saw a stat the other day that said Mikal Kamara leads the country in quarterback pressures all year.
Which is it's for all intents and purposes, when you're looking downfield, it's basically as important as a sack. You don't get the tackle for loss, if you will, but yes, he's
move him out of the pocket,
effective.
Make him have to look, and he can't go through his progressions.
Yeah.
The guy that he wanted to target, he's open for a split second, but if you're pressured, now he's not open. Like, you're absolutely right. They can give the MVP to Fernando. Great. He does deserve it. But the defense was the MVP of that game, in my opinion.
Well, it was 13-10, right? Both defenses
shut out in the second half.
Yeah. No, like what the last score was midway through the second quarter.
Yeah. For 2.5 quarters, they shut him out.
And I think back to
by the way, Ohio State's offense was ranked in the top 5 by the end of the year. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, not as good as the Indiana offense, but still very good.
Right.
But when you think about the early interception by Moore, or one of the plays that it wasn't that consequential, it mattered. They all did, but was later in I think it was still in the third quarter, maybe into the fourth, where Bones Jones is coming in from, he's split way out wide on the left side. If you're looking at it from Ohio State side, and they have Sand rolling to the right, and then Sand's just like, okay, now I'm just going. And Bones Jones must have run 40 yards across the football field to tackle him down from behind as he's going out of bounds. And just to see, that kind of effort just shrieking across the field, it ended up being like a 2-yard loss. And it's just like all those effort plays, all those smart plays throughout the game. And it wasn't just one guy. That's why I'm like, well, who was the defensive star you would give it to? And you were talking about Elijah Hardy's incredible breakup in the end zone. Great. Aiden Fisher was kind of quiet until later in the game. And then really his name started getting called like later in the third and fourth quarter. Like, they all did their part to keep Ohio State to their lowest point total of the season easily.
It was a throw game late. It was a Mendoza and the receivers game late. And here's the thing. They could rely on past performance. We've seen it happen at Oregon. We saw it happen at Iowa. We saw it happen against Penn State. And in every one of those situations, Mendoza had to make big throws under duress and show real competitive courage. And guess what he had to show on Saturday? Under duress, competitive courage. And he made giant throws in that second half. Giant Heisman Trophy style throws. That touchdown to Surratt was incredible. The ball down the field to Becker. Then in the fourth quarter, able to convert down the field again to Charlie Becker. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. So here's one team, Ohio State. They had their opportunities, and with an unproven group, it didn't materialize. And Indiana had their opportunities, and with a very proven group, they capitalized. And they got those plays and made them when it mattered. That's why they won the football game.
And the games that we played that were tough at Iowa, at Penn State, at Oregon helped us in this game. The press conference then they had yesterday, the day after, I want to share a couple things from that with Cignetti.
Well, they didn't play perfectly either. So, they missed a field goal. That was kind of a chip shot down there at the end that could have tied the game. And, we missed one, which was uncharacteristic, and the interception, which led to their first score on a short field, could have been prevented. But it was a great effort. When you play a great team, they're going to make plays, you're going to make plays, and you just got to make one more than they do.
The vibe I get from him is like, well, we can't sit here and be like, oh, we're so much better than them, but we made some mistakes and that's why it was close. He was like, well, they made mistakes too. So if they'd played a better game, they might have beat us. That's what I take from it.
That's fair. I also think I wanted to show these because this dude is bone tired. This dude is bone tired.
Because I think he said they got home at like 5 a.m. at the beginning of this press conference, and that's normally when he's up and getting in the office.
Really, I guess if you looked at our defense relative to our offense in terms of like our defense is probably more aggressive than our offense, because we're very balanced on offense between the run and the pass and don't put too much pressure on the quarterback. And you don't see us spreading the field with 5 wides, things of that nature, running things that people don't see all the time. We're a little bit more conventional, although we are, going to exploit weaknesses in the run game, pass game as well. And I think that's one of the things, like you look at us last night, the timely plays on third down and the down the field shots we were able to convert on based on some things that they'd been doing on tape and really hadn't been challenged. But Coach Haynes and we got a lot of heady guys on defense too. You look at that whole linebacking core, and a lot of those guys up front are smart guys. And then you got some really good coverage guys with ball skills on the back end, which allows us to do a lot. Now, there have been some busts in the back end during the season, and I noticed one in the first 15 or 20 plays. Things that we still have to clean up and get better at.
I just love that we're not a gimmick. We're not running flea flickers and crazy reverses and pretending somebody's running out of bounds and they're not. And, we're just going to beat you with fairly conventional quarterback under center, run good routes, beat your man, put the ball on time. And, it also shows why they've had so much success with quarterbacks, because they don't just spread it out and say, go win.
Right.
They run stuff that freaking works, that flippin' works.
That flippin' works, because the worst thing you can do to your quarterback is not have a run game. Then everybody knows.
Thing. I was going to say, and it's the same thing, but like you have to throw 35 times a game.
Yeah.
Like how many games have we seen where Fernando throw like 18 of 20, 21 of 24? Like,
and which goes back to the idea of it being a team trophy that he's going to bring home from New York. It's like, that is obviously the offensive line. If you're giving out the mini Heismans to everybody, they get theirs first. And then you can give it to tight ends and running backs who, whether they're blocking, doing pass protection, or just getting 7 yards up the middle, 4 yards, going around the right side, whatever it is that just doesn't allow the defense to send the house at Fernando too much, or to blanket coverage in a way that, they have to respect all parts of the game.
I wanted to show this one because Rabbi in the press conference asks him a great question about, does Cignetti realize the impact this is having on the greater IU Hoosier Nation?
You'd probably have to talk to people on the outside to get a better feel for that. I hear it. I just know that winning lifts all boats. And, in terms of fan support in the stadium, donations in all parts of the university, downtown in terms, when you pack the stadium and bring a lot of people to Bloomington, it helps their sales. A lot of pride in Hoosier Nation, the largest alumni base, in America, over 800,000 people. And, I'd say right now the arrow's pointing up, and we've probably got a lot of momentum going in those kind of areas.
We've talked about it so much of what can a successful premium sports program, revenue generating sports program do for your university and your town. And, we're not a city school. We're not in the heart of New York City or Chicago, where you don't have much of an impact either way. We're in Bloomington, and Bloomington is IU. And the football program can mean so much to so many people, and does mean so much to so many people. And I loved I loved Rabbi asking it, and I loved him. Kurt is not a guy who likes to think about things like this. He's focused on the game. But he allowed himself to expound a little bit on what it means and what winning means. And this is what he's done for us in 2 years. And it just, enough cannot be said about it.
And what happens when the number one football team in the country, the Big Ten champions, shine this spotlight that's been pointed at them and at the program? But when College Game Day shows up, when 60 Minutes shows up, when all the nation's eyes turn to your program, and thus then your university, and thus then your town, and then suddenly the whole country has this awakening that Bloomington, Indiana is the greatest college town in America, and that this wonderful treasure of a school that we all love so much, this community we love so much, this town we love so much. I mean, the only thing I worry about is too many people are going to come in there and get a part of the action. You know what I mean? Like it's something we've all known all along about this school and this town. And now, like, literally the whole nation, a lot more people are going to come for these games from other schools, from the media, and the secret's going to get out to a certain degree. Already a lot of people know.
That's okay. We've held it secret for 127 years.
Yeah.
It's time to let it out.
But what's fun is, even when the basketball team's been down or the football team's been non-existent, people still have heard that Bloomington's a really special place, but it's fun to see it get the full treatment now.
Totally agree.
Mike Shanahan, I thought he did a great job last night dialing them up. And it's kind of a group effort. That's one of Mike's strengths, is he draws on everybody. And, of course, I'm still in there, doing my thing. And, Bob has pretty much does a run game for the most part. And we kind of all get together on the pass game and, the various other elements of it, screens, RPOs, et cetera. And, Mike's demeanor is such, he's such a likable guy. And he doesn't really have an ego, and does a great job coaching receivers, and has done a great job coordinator.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I just love him talking about no ego. I mean, that is hard to find at that level. You are the offensive coordinator for the program that's number one in the country, that's going to produce its first Heisman. You're the number one overall seed. And he's taken Bob Bostad's info, because Bob's a stud when it comes to the line and the running game. Kurt obviously has an offensive mind. He's got his own ideas, and he's got no ego about it. Best idea wins. And you talked about the alchemist before, that's what Kurt is. And the alchemy has turned into the number one team in the country. I think we've spent enough time with everybody. What parting words would you like before we celebrate again next week?
To follow up just real quickly on that specific clip, I didn't realize Bostad was so involved with the running game. It makes sense, of course, but I think of him like, okay, this is how we're going to block for this kind of run that Shanahan and Kurt are coming up with. This is how we're going to do pass protection for this sort of particular play they want to set up downfield. But it was interesting. He made it sound like he's basically in charge of the running game.
Right.
And then Kurt and Shanahan are really putting their heads together about passing. And I will say, whenever you see Shanahan over there on the sideline, he was the one receiving that wink from Cignetti during the Oregon game and kind of had a fun smile after that. And when you just see his exchanges with Fernando, you can't tell what they're saying, but you can tell it's a good vibe. So it was interesting to hear Kurt say, hey, he's just such a likable guy. And one thing I do tell the students out here, a big part of being successful in this business, it really helps to just be a good hang, just for people to want to be around you, and it can really help motivate them and get them to listen to you more so than a thundering ego. But big picture, I'll bring back out, the word number one. It's just something that I'm listening to so many talking heads, exchanging texts, and watching back the highlights. I do need to take some time, and I have already, to just sit in silence and meditate on the fact that we're number one, that we've won the Big Ten.
We're undefeated.
We're undefeated. We're number one in the playoffs. We're coming out to the Rose Bowl to play, and everybody should know the Hysterics are going to have some kind of an event out here and be looking for that. But to just sit in the silence a little bit to process what's happened, instead of just constantly consuming more of other people's thoughts and celebration. I just need to like after we're done here, just sit in the darkness and just sit with it for like 10 minutes.
As always, follow us on Twitter at Hoosier Hysterics. For the Hysterics, no E,
no I, but the sometimes why.
We will celebrate more next week.
We're number one.
From the halls of assembly, you'll hear us scream and shout. Our love of Indiana is manic and devout. Everything we discuss in unique manner. We won't be satisfied until we hang another banner Us two goofy guys go by names of Ward and Eric, and as you probably know by now,